All right, everybody, welcome to the FAAB podcast. Today, I have a very special guest. Brad Gorman is with me. He is a member of my Done For You agency program, and he is now experiencing explosive growth in his marketing agency. But like many others, the path to success for him was not always easy. Before he launched his agency, he was a VP lending officer for an international investment bank. He oversaw their top 100 branches and served the wealthiest 0.01% of the US market. Those are some rich people, Brad. He was working 70 plus hours a week until he quit his job just 4 months ago to focus on his agency. Today, he's scaled well past six figures and he has his sights set on more than $500,000 in revenue this year. Welcome to the show, Brad.
Thank you for having me, Tyler. Glad to be here.
Super pumped. So I am excited to just dive into your story and kind of how you got to this point, what you were going through. And I feel like a lot of people that listen to the show, myself included, can relate to just like that whole entrepreneur's journey. And then I definitely want to talk about like what you experienced in the program as well, and how that's been working for you as well. So we'll just dive in a little bit. What is the name of your agency? We'll start there.
So my name is obviously Brad Gorman, but my agency is G6 Media.
And G6 Media. How did you land on G6?
So to be honest, I'm an aviation guy. So
hey, okay.
I love I love the G6 planes and stuff.
Like a G6. Okay, love it. Cool.
Yeah, and I'm a big fan of the song too. So
yeah, no, it definitely helps that there was a song. When did you launch your agency?
So I launched my agency at the end of November, early December.
Cool. So that would be about 8 months ago?
Yeah, about 8 months ago.
8 months ago. Awesome. And how much total revenue have you generated so far in your agency?
Just over 166,000.
Wow, $166,000. And where are you at right now in monthly recurring revenue?
I'm at 58,000.
58K. That's something to be super proud of. So how long ago did you close your first client?
So I ended up closing my first client in March, which was the same month I ended up leaving my job.
So that was 4 months ago.
4 months ago, yes.
So you closed your first client 4 months ago, and in that 4 months, you've closed $166,000 in revenue and built a recurring revenue of 58,000.
Yeah, no, correct. I mean, it's been quite a ride the last few months. So
yeah, I can imagine that those numbers are really impressive. What are you on track for right now for the whole year?
So for the whole year, I'm on track to be right around 500,000.
That's $500,000, Brad. That's $500,000 for the whole year. That's freaking phenomenal. Did you think that you were going to be where you're at right now, even a few months ago?
I kind of was taking a day-by-day approach. I know coming into the program, I had specific revenue goals and kind of where I wanted to be overall. Even when I had my full-time job, I had an expectation where I want to be at X at the end of the year. Mm-hmm. But I don't think in my wildest dreams I would have expected it to take off the way that it did.
So. Yeah, that's so awesome. So how many clients do you currently have right now?
So right now I have 18 clients.
18 clients. Is it overwhelming having 18 clients, or have you found like an equilibrium to manage all of them?
So here's the thing, and this is one great thing that I love about the program is, yes, 18 clients starts to be a good number to manage. Mm-hmm. However, with your program, what I love about it is it really teaches you how to outsource, a lot of the resources. And so with that and the relationships I built with my contractors, they handle not all, but some of the customer service relationships with my clients as well. So it makes that 18 a little easier.
Yeah.
Uh,
Then
but,
managing it all yourself, absolutely.
and then since I have so many, the contractor that I work with, I actually have, I don't call him a program manager, but I actually have an actual person assigned to all my clients. And then on top of, the Facebook specialist or whoever's doing the actual
Right.
work. So
Like account management.
correct.
Perfect. So we've got up to 166. We've built up to 58K in monthly recurring revenue. Where are your sights? Because I know you're very goal driven. Where are your sights set on for your next monthly recurring target?
So I'd really like to be at 100K a month would be my next goal.
Love that goal. Six figure, like hitting your first six figures is really like, I've made 100,000, whether it took you, 60, 90, 120, 180, or, a year or more to hit that, that first milestone of hitting that first 100K is like, it's a rush like no other, at least for me, it was. But then, as you quickly start scaling, it's, your six figures, it becomes, okay, now I want to make six figures every month, which is kind of like where you're at right now. And you're basically at 60K a month. You're well on your way. I mean, I would assume that you'd probably be there by the end of the year, if not even sooner. And, the sky's the limit. That's an awesome goal to have. What kind of services are you providing primarily for your clients right now?
So primarily what I'm providing is Facebook ads and Google PPC. I'm in I deal with the accounting niche primarily, but I've also been doing financial advisors, and I just recently added insurance, mainly because one of my accounting clients also had an insurance business as well. And I'm like, why didn't I think of this before? They kind of all interlinked. So
yeah, nice. So how are accountants to work with? Are they easy to work with? Are they high strung, or are they a lot of maintenance? What's your feel on the accounting niche?
So accounting's a different niche. I think starting off in accounting, it really takes a little bit extra to kind of, spice up the conversation a little bit, if you know what I mean. Because they're very
They're probably known for being a little bit more dull. Does that hold true?
Oh yeah, it definitely does.
Kind of like legal.
Yeah. I mean, I think attorneys are a little more interesting, but as far as being a client, though, I mean, I think they're great clients. Typically, what I have experienced, at least in my agency, once they're your client, they're a little less maintenance than what you might say an e-com client would be. Definitely, right?
100% has to be less than e-com.
And I've developed some good relationships with the CPAs and different accounting businesses that I've done. And overall, they're good clients. I think it's a great niche for anyone in the program or out of the program. I've
the
had
build-out processes are pretty straightforward, like for ad builds and.
Yeah, I mean, as far as the ad builds go, very straightforward. I mean, a lot of the accounts that I know already know what they want. They have it pretty much dialed in, and really, that's probably one of the biggest hurdles. Sometimes is because in their mind they know exactly what they want,
right?
And they're not willing sometimes to let go, even if it's to their benefit.
Yeah, but that also helps you in crafting your offer and kind of hitting the nail on the head, I guess I would say.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. And I mean, I typically, one of the things I almost always do with my clients is I always run through a cost benefit analysis, which basically really speaks to what they know good. So
Yeah, they're definitely numbers people. So let's talk a little bit about your story and how you got here to your 166K and half a mil trajectory. What were you doing before you launched your agency?
so before I launched my agency, I was a lending officer for quite a large international bank. And, you know, when I say I oversaw the top 100 branches of the wealthiest people in America. I mean, it truly was that. And I mean, I saw basically any deals over a certain threshold, and I mean millions of dollars, would typically come to me, from our account executives or from our financial advisors as referrals and stuff. And I would look at kind of the whole holistic, what's going on with their business and, how that really transpires and really make a decision whether we want to have that type of risk, at the firm. And, it was truly unique. And I think that has helped me in some aspects with my agency, because I'm used to looking at deals and coming up with solutions kind of on the spots where things don't necessarily make sense.
Yeah.
And I'm very obviously in the accounting and financial advisor niche. That's really my back door, because that's what I was really looking at all day, where it was balance sheets, spreadsheets, and personal financial.
Riveting.
So,
Riveting.
very, very exciting stuff,
Yeah.
not as exciting as jumping out of a plane, but, it paid the bills.
Yeah.
And, I really wanted to get into being an entrepreneur, because I previously, when I was 19 and kind of on up, I had a few businesses as well, that did quite well. And, for a few reasons, I did have to go back and take a 9-to-5 job, mainly due to the economic downturn. I'm going to age myself, but about what was that, like 11, 12 years ago?
Yeah. 2008.
Yeah, 2008. It's been quite a prosperous recovery.
Yeah.
But it's been quite a journey. And that's what I really wanted. I just really love the entrepreneur spirit, because being in a 9-to-5, after being an entrepreneur when you're young, it is a very, very tough thing to do, in my opinion.
I was thinking about that the other day. I was just like, I had, some thoughts about back when I was a 9-to-5 employee, and like the jail cell feeling of it, and like the getting up and just hating the fact that you have to go there. And like I had those moments where I would sit in my car and just be like, grab the steering wheel and just be like, oh, I cannot believe I have to go back to this place. Like I hate it so much. And just thinking like, this is the rest of my life, like doing this thing that I hate. And I knew it wasn't for me. And so the thought of having to ever return to something like that, like, oh, shivers.
Oh yeah. And I mean, just the repetitiveness and really, from my aspect, being an entrepreneur first and then going to a 9-to-5, I think is almost worse, because it's a totally different mindset, right? Because
Yeah, I could not. If I went back now, honestly, I would be the worst employee you could ever hire. Like it would just, it would not work out well. So I can imagine how hard it would be trying to go back to a 9-to-5 after being an entrepreneur.
Yeah, I mean, and it was, and just from the management to how things flow, and me wanting to take charge, but then you kind of get slapped on the hand because you're not the boss. And,
Right.
but I mean, at least when I went back to a 9-to-5, I was in the airline industry at that time. And, I did get some good perks with the flight benefits and stuff. So that made it that, I eased my way in, so to speak, because, being able to fly around is kind of a cool perk that obviously a lot of entrepreneurs kind of get to do from time to time.
So fast forward to November, December of 2020, when you decided to hop on to the Done For You agency program and really, get your agency going. What did you experience throughout that time, and what did you experience that may not have been something that you expected to experience?
Yeah, definitely. So I actually ran across your program online. I think I saw one of your ads on Instagram, and
Yes,
I
they work.
I knew right away, and I think I saw the ad maybe August, September-ish, and I knew in the back of my mind, I'm like, this is what I want to do, and then from over the next few months, I kind of prepared myself. I'm like, how am I going to enter into this? And so November came around, and I'm like, this is the time. Sometimes you just know.
Yeah.
You just know, and I'm like, I've got to call and and sign up, and I ended up getting Nick on the phone, and it's so funny because I was it's been a couple months. I started scrambling to get your number. I'm like, where's the number to call, because I don't even have the ad anymore.
Yeah.
And so I think I looked up. I remember Sobe Viral, and I looked up on Sobe Viral, and then I called whatever number was on there, and it went to Nick, and had a great conversation, and and got signed up, and it was literally, I think, the Monday after, because I think I called around the weekend, and the Monday after, things just got rolling, and that next, week and a half, 2 weeks, things kind of took off real quickly. It's a lot of content, definitely a lot of content.
Yes.
I have to say, I was not expecting how thorough the educational piece of all the course material that you put together in your program was, and I was very, very impressed. Coming from never having an agency before, it was extremely helpful. I had to watch a few things 2 or 3 times just to kind of let it all sink in. But the way you have your program set up is amazing, between the course content and your program managers that are extremely helpful. And
Nice.
really the whole setup with Facebook ads. And once my Facebook ads got set up, a week and a half, 2 weeks down the line, I had a lead. Well, I think I had a lead probably the first day after things were launched. And that first month, the first month I had over 100 leads with the program. It was so, I don't want to say it was overwhelming, but it was definitely kind of run and go.
Yeah. Yeah, no, you definitely hit it big with your lead gen, which was just incredible to see. How was that journey for you, learning how to sell to all those leads? Because now, there's typically 2 big bottlenecks that the agencies experience in our program. There's a lot more bottlenecks that agencies experience outside of our program that are just trying to figure it out on their own. But in the program, we're able to do a lot of things for you and help you overcome a lot of different challenges. There's 2 though that typically all of the elite members encounter. The first one is lead gen, and just getting those leads flowing, right? Like, we're kicking it on Facebook ads, but there's plenty of other channels to also learn and get those things working. And then beyond that bottleneck, it's sales and getting those leads to actually convert into sales. So you kind of busted through that first bottleneck and had leads flowing pretty much instantly. But that second bottleneck, learning how to sell to those leads, I think was where you found, the most work in your journey. Talk to me a little bit about that and learning how to sell to them and how you got there.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And it definitely was a learning curve for me. And I think a big, um, the big thing I think was the mindset change or shift, coming from what I was doing to being able to really sell and relate with the customers that I was, or the prospects that I was speaking to on the phone. Um, because it was completely, it was just something that was completely different to me. It had been quite a while since I had sold. I do have a real estate license, but that's a completely different,
Yeah,
that's a
totally.
completely different sell.
High ticket sales and real estate sales are just night and day different.
Completely
Um,
different.
I do like though that you said, that you appreciated the level of, detail we went into the education part of it and including, lead gen and sales as well, because we know that so many of our members come in starting completely from scratch. Like you decided to launch your agency with us. And that's probably one of the most common questions we get on our ads is, well, what if I don't already have an agency? Can I still join the program? And we're constantly telling people, yes, absolutely. In fact, most of our clients completely launch their agency with us. And it helps us too, because we can kind of make sure that it grows the way it's supposed to and not like get this hybrid system that we're trying to help fix and correct. And I think you kind of had that journey.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, really for me, it was the support too, like the support from your entire team was amazing between all the coaching calls. And I think that's one thing I don't think, I could be wrong, I don't think enough people really take advantage of is really attending all the coaching calls. Like even like for instance, like on Mondays, I think is with Nav for in the
Yeah.
program, right?
Yeah.
And
Sales coaching.
like I'm never really able to join during that time frame, but I always watch the replay on Facebook. Like I
Yeah.
don't think missed a call the whole time I've been in the program, whether it's been watching on Facebook or being in the actual call myself. And that's a real resource, just not for the program managers, but really the community that you've built. There's so many talented people that have a lot of different experience with a lot of different programs and different thought processes. And that really helps you kind of get through that hump in order to be able to sell or make a pitch or make a good sales script for yourself. And I really say sales script, but really that was kind of my breaking through point is I had a script and I do have a sales script, but now I call it more like a sales flow
Yes.
because
I call it the structure document because
yeah,
I wanted to get rid of the word script as well.
yeah, because ideally, I think starting off, that's, I was so, I want to say I was so square and just inside the box, like I
Maybe
wanted
rigid. Yeah.
rigid. Well, yeah, well, I was definitely rigid. That's a great explanation. I was definitely rigid. And I wanted to just kind of follow instructions and I was really that corporate employee that just wanted to like, follow the rules, go through the course and follow things to the T. And once I kind of learned the material and kind of started adding my own human element to the material and to the structure and foundations that you provided, is really when I started seeing the changes
Yeah.
in my agency. Because at the end of the day, it's a people business, like
Yes.
it doesn't matter if we're an agency. I mean, sales is a people's business, and being able to relate with who you're speaking to is huge. And it's not always an easy thing, especially if you're in. It doesn't really matter what niche you're in because every prospect is going to be a slightly different.
Yeah.
and
They're
and
all people.
yeah,
They're all people at the end of the day. And like regurgitated sales scripts and regurgitated, robotic style, reading of, what you think you're supposed to do is not going to land you that deal. It's not going to close sales. Like, you have to learn the structures, learn the flows, right? And then put your own human element into it. And then, it's more important to prioritize like the actual client and the conversation and, the outcome, their pain points, the goals, than it is to stick to a rigid script, by, leaps and bounds.
Absolutely. And, and even in the sense when you get to the point of discussing a budget or discussing maybe what your agency's fees are, it's really conveying, obviously we all have to get paid,
Yeah.
right? And things do cost money, but conveying that in a way where they don't feel like all you're there for is a paycheck,
Yeah.
that, the fee is kind of on the, in a sense, a back burner item, and you're there because you want to help them and help them get clients to provide, whatever service they're doing depending on your niche. And that's a huge thing too, because and a huge objection I think that a lot of people overcome or have to overcome is is a pricing objection, which really falls down to, do I trust you or not? And
Yeah. And if you haven't really gone through that discovery process and really built that human relationship with the human element that you're talking about, and conveyed to that lead that you truly do care about them, as a person, and you care about their business, then you're not going to land the deal. Because if they view you as just someone who's trying to get the deal across the line and get money, they're not going to close. When I'm on the other end of that spectrum, when someone's trying to sell me, if I feel that they're just trying to sell and they're not actually caring about my problem, I'm not going to buy either. Like, that's how human buying and selling works. It's all based on emotion and connection. Tactics are important, but emotionally selling and bringing in that human psychological element is even more important.
Absolutely. I mean, it really is. And that was really, I think, the biggest learning lesson that I had to kind of go through is, I don't want to say soften up a little bit, but be a little more, personable. It was really to be more personable, to get out of the mindset of, this is the structure I want to follow, and this is my hard set price, and I'm not budging. And that's another big thing is I do have, set price points, but I'm very flexible, and it's almost like an ebb and flow, to be honest, from client to client, depending on really what their needs are. I kind of work my pricing structure backwards from what my contractors are charging me. And and once you know what your pricing is, and what your profit margins are, like, it's easier to be a little flexible on price when you're talking with the client without pulling a calculator out, to do the math.
100%. I like also that you brought up, the fact that, Nav, he's an insane sales coach. His style is so aggressive and forward. It's not me at all. And that is honestly the goal of why I put him there, and why I put certain people in certain places across the coaching spectrum of the Done For You Agency program. It's because what you said earlier just totally hits the nail on the head. They're all these different amazing coaches. They come from different backgrounds, different experiences. They've learned things in other programs and courses and experience that they have all along the way. And they bring all of that, diverse education into one place within my program. And that is really what allows all the members to connect with, the coaching that really connects with them and their personality and what they feel comfortable with using. Because there's no, what people fail to understand is, there's no complete exact only one path for agency success. Like, you don't have to do this specific lead gen. You don't have to sell just like this. You don't have to use contractors like this. You don't have to, there's a whole bunch of different formulas that work and are profitable in the agency space, just like all businesses. It's really finding out, the frameworks, what does work, what do we know works well, and then fitting in your own style, your own human element, and bringing that personal, choice, and I don't know, your own personality, like you mentioned, into your own agency, like beyond the basic, tactics within lead gen, within building your team, and within sales that we know works. There are many sub paths, and it's really just like why I have these, diverse set of coaches and trainings, because, you may, I had another sales coach, Brad, who is incredible, from Australia. We have Eric, who also does sales coaching, and all of their sales coaching. And we have Cody over in Sales Every Day. I mean, there's a coaching call every single day for sales with, our partner sales recruitment and training program that elites get access to. Like, the amount of coaching calls that elites get access to is insane. It's like there's 5 a day there are 5 a week just in sales, and then another 5 for the DFY program. There's like a minimum of 10 group coaching calls that they can be on every week, plus their one-on-ones, like all with a bunch of different coaches. So it's just like, finding coaches that you really connect with, and then bringing that training into your agency to kind of put your own personal touch on it. And I love seeing, people like you and people like, other members I brought on the podcast as well, just succeed in their own specific vertical and on their own path, which is really, really cool.
It really is. And you hit on I think the most important point, which is, regardless if you're doing Facebook ads or VA outreach or any other of the lead gen sources,
Yeah.
It's they all work.
Yeah.
But what's important is really finding what works best for you, because my strategy and how I get my leads, or how I convert my leads, is kind of might be a fit for me. But if I were to draw out an exact outline, it may not work for somebody else per se, because that might not be their style, or that may not be how they communicate with people the best. And so it's really, really important, in my opinion, when you get into the program, just not focus on one or two lead gen, is to try different things. And that's exactly what I did. I tried a variety of different lead gen sources, and I found which ones kind of worked the best, and for my agency, and I added my own personal touch on things, and that's exactly what has led to my success.
Yeah. And really quickly too, like when you think about how long it takes to build a business to, 100K, 166K, where you're at now, on track for $500,000 this year. Like, there are people that work for, years trying to get to that point, doing trial and error, banging their head against the wall, just paying their bills. Maybe they get to that, $5,000 to $10,000 a month. They're able to pay their bills and live the lifestyle. But, in the agency space, the common cap on that is when they reach, the end of their own production capacity, meaning they're wearing all the hats in their agency. They're doing the lead gen, they're doing the sales, they're doing all the fulfillment, they're doing all the client communication. And you quickly tap out at like between, depending on, some people are crazy and like they can do that with like a lot of clients. I get like, I cannot at all. But you get to like between 5 and 10 clients like that, and it is stressful, really stressful. And you really don't have the capacity anymore for growth. So, being able to come into the program as a brand new agency, get connected with all the different contractors that allow you to outsource all of that work and learn those systems, learn those processes from the ground up is really, I think, what separates the Done For You Agency program from a ton of other programs out there that, you know, teach you how to be really good implementers and doers. But our program really teaches you how to be the CEO and gets you to the top of that, you know, that hierarchy so that you can scale. Like, you know, you said you have 18 clients right now. I can't even imagine what 18 clients would be like if you were doing all of their ads and all their communication.
I mean, I'd probably be pulling my hair out. I mean,
Yeah.
I know what I'm doing now, which is still, it's still a lot, you know. I mean, my day is always, you know, very, very full. And I mean, I'm not always working, you know, 15 hours a day, but you know, some days I am like, if I bring on new clients, or if I during a time of, you know, the year when my contracts are renewing, like those are some busy days.
Yeah.
But I think one really quick important point to make is, as you're growing, or as you start your program, also in the back of your mind, think of how you're going to set up your customer kind of service for those clients, because that's really important as you add more and more. Even if you have an account manager through a contractor,
Mm-hmm.
you still want to have some type of process in place to make sure you have client satisfaction, you know, because at the end of the day, personally, I don't like relying just on an account manager to
Yeah.
handle customer service. I always like to have processes in place to check in, you know, and to really further develop that relationship personally, on top of what the account manager may be doing.
Yeah. No, that's really smart as well. I just want to like maybe backtrack just a little bit and talk to you about, because I think a lot of people can relate, you know, to the story, but what is, you know, a few major obstacles that you had to overcome on your journey to get to where you are today?
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, sales was definitely one.
Yeah.
Uh, Sales was definitely one. The other large item for me when I was entering was, you know, I wasn't necessarily in the best spot when I entered into the program on a personal level. You know, you know, I had PSCD, I had panic disorder, with a lot of anxiety, and really due to some instances that happened in my past, and that was a big struggle, and it really tied into the sales issue as well, because I don't want to say I had some trust issues with people, but you know, in a sense, I had social anxiety,
Yeah.
you know, with trusting people again.
I can
And
imagine getting on a sales call would definitely trigger something like that.
yeah, you know, and I've always been a people person. Like, I've always loved people.
Yeah.
It was just which was the frustrating part, right? Because you know, I love talking to people, but it was really overcoming what personal dilemmas I had in my life, and really pushing through that and gaining the proper mindset. And that was a huge obstacle that I had overcome. And one way that I did it personally, besides, I mean, Sam, you have a coaching call on Wednesdays
Yeah.
with Sam, which deals directly with mindset.
For those,
But
yeah, for those of you guys listening, Sam is our in-house mindset coach.
and he does a fantastic job. But besides that call, you know, I would used to when I would participate, I would always watch the replays, and I'd analyze. Like for me, it was really my communication style. So, what was my body language look like when I'm on a Zoom call? How am I speaking? You know, how is what I'm saying being translated to what I want it to mean,
Yeah.
right? And it's those key little things that I used to like really harp on myself when I would be and participate in the coaching calls, and I go back and I listen, and I would kind of take notes and say, well, Brad, you're still doing this, or you wanted to say this in your head, or you thought you said this in your head, but that's not what you actually said. And besides that, but also listening to your sales calls is so important, or your sales calls is so
Huge.
important.
Yes.
You know,
100
and
for everyone. I always
yeah,
recommend record it and listen back to it, because you'll hear where the call went left, or where you could have, answered something differently. And you'll, it's weird for me when I listen to myself, I cringe. I literally, I hate doing it. Like, you have to, but I hate doing it because I just hate listening to myself, because like there's so much judgment that I place, and like there's so much, oh, you should have done that, you should have done that. But it is huge for self-development. So I'm glad you brought that up.
yeah, it definitely is. And I feel like I'm very similar to what you said, because I don't necessarily enjoy, because I always find something. I'm like, oh, you did this wrong, or why did you say that? Or,
Yep.
but it really brings a self-awareness. And I think self-awareness is a huge thing, because it really draws into the mechanics of maybe what's not working, instead of what the surface level items are that most people jump to right away, whether the lead's not necessarily good, or something else isn't working. Like, if you really take a step back and really look at yourself, and then look at the other things that you're doing, sometimes you can nail down a little at a deeper level, like the true cause of an issue.
I'm so happy you said that, because do you know what the most common one that I get is from agencies that I talk to across the board is, it's my niche. I want to change niches. My niche is bad. And I'm like, okay, they're looking at like macro, super, look from atmospheric level,
Mhm.
when the problem is down on the ground. And it's something that if you do a little introspection, you may realize that in your sales process, you're just bulldozing right through, not caring about the prospect and going right for the sale hard. And oftentimes, like, we'll go back and be like, let's take a look at your sales process. Let's listen to that and see what that sounds like. And lo and behold, like, the niche isn't bad. They're just completely disregarding, any type of normal sales flow. So it's, there's often a lot of problems that can be solved by just, taking a step back, looking at how you're implementing processes, and thinking, is this something that, like, one thing I've always loved is this whole golf ball principle, that I learned from one of my coaches. And it was basically, um, you know, if you just adjust your swing a tiny fraction, you can have, a hole in one. Whereas if you are off just a tiny fraction, the ball can be completely way off. So what you're perceiving as, the whole niche is wrong, actually, with just a slight adjustment to the left or right, you can have a hole in one. And so it's just like, being able to be self-aware, like you said, of that, and learning how to make those adjustments, which is huge. And you can do that when you have coaches that are kind of helping you and guiding you along the way.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And just to dive into your example of, I'm in the wrong niche, that really, I think, dives down, at least from what I've seen over the last 6-7 months of being in your program, and just really talking to a lot of different people, is, when you have an agency, you really have to dive down and do your research. So if you're going to pick accounting, or if you're going to pick e-com, or if you're going to pick, the contractors, as your niche, like, you need to really understand
Who you're selling to.
who you're selling to. And I feel like, sometimes, people are so excited to get going that they skip that. They have a general idea of, okay, I know what contractors do, right? But they don't really know what contractors need, or what being a contractor really looks like, or what it's like to be a
Yes.
contractor.
Yes.
And really starting to relate to whatever niche you're in, is a huge item. um, you know, to really be able to, relate with who you're speaking with.
And just sell effectively. If you don't do your niche research, if you don't learn about who you're trying to sell to, if you pick a niche because you think it's hot right now, or because you think it's, the where you're going to get the most revenue, without any care as to who those people are, what problems are they facing, how can you solve them, learning, the pain that's in their market right now, right? Like, event marketing, for the longest time, they didn't have venues because they couldn't host events. So they needed to figure out how to do digital events, right? That was their pain. Like, and if you didn't explore that and learn about those different options, then you were not going to succeed in that niche. No, right now events are opening back up. It's a massive opportunity. And understanding that and what they're going through in each local district is huge in that niche. Just to give one example of niches, car dealerships, they're experiencing, a lot of new competition online, whereas people are buying and renting cars now online through different companies, instead of going into, the Chevy showroom and picking a car off of the lot. That's their pain, right? And so digging down into those specific problems within your niche and understanding that before you get on a call is going to help you sell so much more effectively. And it's something that, I drill all the time. And I think it's something that you did really well and learned about your niche to be able to get to where you're at right now.
Absolutely. And it really, to be honest, when you dig deep into the niche, it really helps you, just not with your deliverables, but how you're going to price those deliverables too, because
Yeah.
you can't take, one pricing and apply it to all the different niches across the board, because each niche is a little is unique, and they have different margin sets. And it's really, really important. I can't emphasize enough to really dive down and really look, to be honest, really look at what the margins for that business are. Like, if I'm a
Yeah.
business owner and I'm an accountant and I do, I don't know, bookkeeping, for example, am I a bookkeeper that's, just starting off, and maybe I'm charging $150 a month, or am I an experienced, CPA charging $400 or $500 a month, to a business for the same service, and those type of things are really, really important, to know.
Yeah. So let's, in our last 10 minutes here, let's go ahead and talk a little bit about tactics and tools. What is some agency software that you absolutely cannot live without?
So I want to start with Pipedrive.
Yeah, huge.
Uh,
Love Pipedrive.
I love Pipedrive, and it's going to tie into everything else. But one reason I love Pipedrive is because it integrates with a lot of other softwares out there. Um, you know, I'm currently using Aircall, which integrates with Pipedrive. I love being able to make my phone calls or email out of Pipedrive, and all my
Yeah.
notes are right there. I am doing a beta test on Dialpad,
Nice.
but we'll see how that goes. But also, Zapier's fantastic as well.
Like the glue that holds the internet together.
Yeah, it really is. Like, it's like the back office of all these other apps. I almost call it a super app. It's just like, I don't personally use Kajabi because I'm not doing anything for that, but it's almost like Kajabi. It has all these,
Yeah.
it integrates with all this different stuff, and it's a really
Everything.
great app. Yeah.
It's huge. And Zapier also integrates with Kajabi as well. Like, they're honestly everywhere. I don't know where I would be without Zapier. Any other software?
Yeah. So, I use HelloSign obviously for my contracts, which is great. Which also integrate, basically how I structure it is I use Google Docs, and right, I should say I have a G Suite, right, and I have my HelloSign integrated into my G Suite, And when I type my contracts out on Google Docs as a template, I just use a little add-on and it auto flows. And then once the contract gets signed, it auto flows back into Google Docs. So I have a record of it. And then I use Acuity. Acuity is great for my scheduling.
Yeah.
And, but there's a lot of great softwares out there.
A ton. I think you named some really good ones. Pipedrive and HelloSign, Zapier, are three of my absolute top ones as well. What is your primary source of leads right now for your agency?
Yeah, so I feel like I'm the lead king.
You are pretty much the lead king, Brad.
But everyone asks me what my lead strategy, what I'm doing, and basically most of my leads are coming from VA outreach right now. And I mean, I have a ton of other types of lead gen sources. I still do Facebook ads. I have VA outsourced, and what my VA does is they do all social media platforms, just not LinkedIn. They'll go on they'll scrape Facebook and Instagram as well. And I have this whole flow chart for my VA. And one little tip, just really quick for people that use VAs for outreach is really, besides diving into a script for them, is being able to kind of have a 360 view of what their conversation is. So in Acuity, I built like a little intake form, just similar to like Wufoo, kind of what the intake form off of Facebook in my funnel. And I label, just a quick 4 or 5 questions that I want to know from that prospect. Like, it's great if they have this long conversation, but I want to know these 4 or 5 items. And, they fill that information out, and then I have my VA copy and paste their entire conversation into the form as well, and it slaps right onto the appointment calendar. So when that appointment comes up, I can go ahead and view really quickly where the conversation left off, so I know where to pick up, and so I'm on page with what the prospect knows or is expecting from the call. And then as far as other lead sources, just really quick, that are maybe a little unorthodox, but I just recently started using Alignables, which came from actually a CPA that invited me into their group. I also utilize local campaigns through newsletters or any type of outreach programs. Like,
nice.
I don't know if you're familiar with Local Spark. I mean, I've been focusing on like the Miami area with Local Spark, but I mean, they're across the country. So it doesn't really matter what city you're in if you wanted to do a local campaign. And also really just talking to people. Like, I've been traveling a lot, and like lately, and really just telling people about your agency. Like, once you are confident in what you're doing, is when you just start talking to people, you'd be surprised like who you run into or who needs what. Like,
yes,
I ran into someone.
Always talk about your business, because there's potential clients everywhere.
Yeah, I ran into someone in the airport, and I shouldn't say ran in, they were sitting behind me, and I happened to own a family office. And I just listened to him talk to whoever he's with, wanting to outsource marketing. And
wow,
I sat, eavesdropped a little more, and then I turned around and introduced myself, and it just happened that we were on the same flight back to where I was going. I'm so glad that I was Southwest, because I got to choose my seat. But, but anyways, those are just some little examples and stuff for lead gen. So
love it. Tell me briefly, what does your sales process look like?
Yeah, so I mean, my sales process is pretty fluid. I do have a sales closer. I have a VA that I'm training to sell as well. It's kind of a beta test for me. And then I have 2 other VAs that give me my leads. And then I also take sales calls as well. And the process pretty much starts off real briefly. I do kind of my intro call. And one thing that's important that I do before the intro call is research on that client. And I think that's a huge piece to going into call one.
Yep.
And really just not knowing their business, but trying to find out I try and find out at least 1 or 2 relatable items for whether it's the business or the individual that, I can.
Helps you build rapport.
Yeah, just to help build rapport. And then kind of moving on from there, because call one's all about pre-qualifying, just to get to know the client, really dive into their pain points. And then you always want to set another call. I always set another call. And it's really discovery. So call 2, hopefully, I've done enough discovery in call 1 where I can go ahead and say, pitch them, whatever price, or go over my deliverables in call 2. That's not always the case. Sometimes it may take 3 or 4 calls to land that client. But just real briefly, I mean, the sales process has to be fluid. Like, you can't be rigid and say, it's going to be 2 calls and then I'm going to give up on this client and he's no good. He's not a fit for me. Like, I'm a numbers person. So the more people I get on the phone, the better. I really don't believe in bad leads unless they just truly can't afford, afford my what I'm delivering. Because sales is a numbers game.
Yeah.
And that's really what it comes down to. But my philosophy is, you always, no matter where the conversation ends, I'm always booking that call until they either tell me to go away, and not contact them anymore, or they're ready to sign on. And in short, that's kind of what my process is. And follow-up is huge. And that's another, I know we don't have really time to talk about follow-up, but I feel like that's a big thing that a lot of people struggle with when they're running their agency or starting off, is doing the follow-up.
It is huge. And that's why Pipedrive can help a lot, because it can keep all your deals organized and prioritized so that you can go back easily in each day and know who you should be following up with. And it gives you so many different ways. You can text through Pipedrive, you can email through Pipedrive, you can even call now through Pipedrive, which is super awesome. But just to even hit on that tool one more time. So before we wrap this up, I do want to just highlight how incredible your agency is doing one last time. So since you joined the Done For You agency program, how much revenue have you generated total for your agency?
166,000, or just over 166,000.
That's $166,000. Incredible. When did you close, or how many months ago did you close your first deal?
4 months ago.
4 months ago. So you closed $166,000 in 4 months alone. What recurring revenue are you at on a monthly basis right now?
Just over 58,000.
So you got 58 in recurring. You've collected 166 total. And what are you tracking for the full year right now?
So I should be at $500,000 by the end of the year, if it all goes at the same pace. So it's going to be a great.
How does that feel? $500,000 for your agency?
It feels great. It absolutely feels great. I wouldn't have been able to do it without your program and all the support from your staff, to be honest.
Thank you so much, Brad. It has been awesome to have you here on the Done For You agency / Facebook ads agency podcast. This is just a really, really cool recap and dive into your agency and the processes, and just the experience that you've been through. I think a lot of people are going to be able to relate to many of the things that you said, many of the obstacles that you've overcome. And I think you're going to inspire a ton of people that are listening as well, that may be sitting on the sidelines, maybe haven't started their agency, or they're thinking about starting their agency. and maybe looking for the right partner on, who to do it with, I think you're just an incredible, case study and how fast and how far you can go in a short period of time.
Oh, well, no, well, thank you very much for that. And, I really appreciate being able to have this podcast with you. And
Yeah.
just to kind of wrap things up, just to everyone that's listening, I mean, it really just comes down. I mean, you just have to be humble and, be authentic, be yourself, and don't try and duplicate anyone else's pitch, be different. And most importantly, lead with your heart. So.
Yes, 100%. Thank you so much, Brad. I will see you very soon in the program. And for everyone listening, I will see you on the next episode.